Well, hello there. This video should have been what I did on Saturday, but I decided not to film Saturday, and instead I'm going to answer some questions and put a call out for questions, and I got a lot. I will not be answering all of them, so if I don't answer a question, I'm sorry, but I'm not willing to film 2 hours of question and answer, but hopefully in time, all the answers will come out. So I'm going to take Frank for a walk and answer the questions while I'm doing that, and while I'm preparing. It's going to be a long day. It's already like 3:30. I'm going to be up for another 12 hours because I have a bunch of editing to do. So I need second coffee. Okay, so I thought I would start with some of the easiest questions, and also one of the most interesting questions I've ever received. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's my favorite color in the alphabet? I would say it's a red fox. Okay, Grateful Dead or Fish? I've listened to neither ever, so my answer is Pink Floyd. Okay, a more serious question. How long do I plan to be in Squamish, and what are my plans after that? So, I will be in Squamish, I would say, for another month to month and a half this time around, because Troy has a job here. He's a tradesman. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. I want to hang around and spend some time with him. I also have some more van stuff that needs to happen. I have to get that body work done. I have some rear end work that needs to get done, that kind of stuff, in the new year. I wasn't willing to cram it into December because I'm already very busy. So yeah, I'll be around for most of January, and then I plan to just tour around the coast, Sunshine Coast, Gulf Island, Vancouver Island, spend some time with family, spend some time with friends, go to the beach, go to the mountains, do some skiing, all that kind of stuff. And just enjoy a well-rounded West Coast winter. Spring, summer, I do have an idea what I'll be doing, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. But yeah, I did sit down last night with Troy and get a pretty good idea of what our next year is going to start to look like, given that I'm nomadic and he's stationary for now. So yeah, just figuring out how to make that work. Did you used to study geology and any plans to do a video on the Earth? Yes, I studied geology. I actually went to the University of Victoria and I started a degree in chemistry, and sometime during second year I realized they were grooming me for a pharmaceutical industry, which is not something that I wanted to be a part of. So I switched into the Earth and Ocean Science program, which is a really interesting program that lines you up to work in geology, but has a strong dominance on interdisciplinary approach. So instead of taking like one section of like Earth system sciences and like hyper focusing on that, they want to teach you about all of them and not a little bit about all of them, quite a lot about all of them, so you can integrate them back together and look at whole Earth systems. So the program I did was primarily geology because that allows you to work right away, but with a lot of atmosphere studies, oceanography studies. I continued to do quite a bit of chemistry, and then the program also makes us do quite a bit of math and statistics. So it was really interesting, really, really informative. I see the world completely differently because of it, and yeah, I'm glad I went to school for that. I have worked in geology, I've worked in coal and uranium exploration. I've also worked in analytical geochemistry and in research paleontology, which takes me to another question on here, which is, as a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up, and how does that compare to now? As a kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist. That was a big thing for me. I really, really wanted to be a paleontologist since maybe about the age of 3. I don't know how I could say that word or how I came up with that, but that is what I wanted to do. And actually when I was in university, for one of my classes, like upper level paleobiology classes, instead of researching other people's papers to write my paper, I went out and collected my own fossils and wrote a paper based on that. So I feel like in a way I've accomplished that feeling I was after. But my life now, yeah, I don't work in science at all. I gave that up after seeing what it's like to work in resource extraction. And then I also got a challenging dose of reality of how science as an industry and as a paid industry actually works, and it's not this romantic idea of science I had my whole life growing up. So unless I find some random rich person to pay me to do research for the sake of research, I really would just be getting paid to make sure a company gets the data that they want. And unfortunately, that's just how science as an industry is. But a big thing for me growing up was, and my whole life, I've always really valued freedom. I wanted to be free. I've always felt this sort of cage around me in our society. And so in terms of that, I feel like I've come quite a long way towards actualizing the feelings of freedom that I want to experience with my time here on Earth. Okay, so I'm gonna let the coffee steep, and once it's in my mug, I will see you on the trail with Frank to answer some more questions. Hey bud, you wanna go for a walk? Nice, let's do it. So before I continue with the rest of the question you've been asking me, I'm going to ask one that I've just asked myself, and that is, did I just leave for a walk and lock my keys in the van? And the answer is yes, absolutely I did. So yeah, I'll deal with that after. And I guess the part 2 to that would be, do I have a plan to get back in my van? And yes, I do. I've done this many times and I know how to get in. So, next question. Do I air down my tires when going on dirt roads? No, I don't. I never have, at least not intentionally. I don't have a power system. I've never had a power system. You need a power system to run a compressor to pump them back up. So it just wasn't practical to be airing down my tires. I don't have a 4x4. I have driven about the gnarliest roads I think anyone could drive my van, and I don't know, it seems fine. Hasn't been a big deal. If I can't go with my van the way it is, probably have no business taking my home there. And all those kinds of toys cost money, and I don't feel like working enough to spend the time to be able to buy those types of things. So another question I received is, have I ever traveled outside of Canada? Yes, I have. I've been to the US many, many times. I used to travel down to California as a young girl and a teenager to hang out with family I have there. I've also been to summer camps in Alaska. Living in the van, I've been down to the US 3 times for 2 to 6 months. I've also traveled to Costa Rica about 15 years ago. I spent maybe a month there, and most recently for international travel aside from the US. I traveled to Spain and Gibraltar in 2008 for geology. So that was really fun. It was part field school and part solo travel, and I really, really enjoyed it. But when I got Frank, I made a promise to him that we would not fly, that I wouldn't leave him to fly, and I wouldn't fly with him because it's pretty dangerous. Hey. Yeah, buddy. Look at you cruising. Little speed dog. Yeah, bud. Nice. I love to see you feeling better, Frank. Look at all the snails here. And it's yours now. Nice. Stump owner. So I was asked two different questions that are similar but different, and one is if I've had any kind of scary or unnerving experiences, and the other one is if I've had any sort of paranormal experiences. So for the first, I feel like when people ask this question, they usually mean in reference to humans. Let me switch hands. This camera's getting heavy. There we go. And you know, I've probably had some times where I got bad vibes from people and I just got away from them or didn't engage with them, and it was fine. But specifically related to van life, I've never had really scary or uncomfortable situations involving people. I have with people close to me in my life, because I don't think the danger or threat of another person is correlated to whether you know them or not. And in my experience, some of the most dangerous people I've encountered have been people that I welcomed into my life. So in terms of van life, scary or unnerving situations, most of them have been my own doing. The roads I choose to drive down, the level of preparedness I set out with. You know, maybe I don't fill up the gas as much as I should, and then I have a really nervous drive into town hoping I don't run out. It's just those types of things, and they're all things I do to myself or are a result of choices of my recreational activities, like climbing mountains and rock climbing and that kind of stuff. But oh, it's really nice. I don't know if you can see the lake down there. Oh, my arms are tired today. It's just a phone on a stick, but it feels really heavy. So in terms of paranormal experiences, I absolutely have had very interesting paranormal encounters of the land and sky variety. And I just don't really talk about them on the internet because, in my experience, bringing them up on Instagram always results in a massive unfollowing. And like, yeah, maybe bringing this up now, a bunch of people are going to unsubscribe. But I remember talking about UFOs once on Instagram, and I didn't have a huge following at the time. And like 100 people unfollowed because they're so uncomfortable with the topic. And I find it's a topic that's just a lot more fun to talk about in person, in a setting where you're sharing stories with somebody else and you can kind of like go back and forth and that sort of thing. So yeah, I've had some weird experiences, and I might do a story time later, a video dedicated to sharing some of these stories. So a lot of people have asked me about Frank's story. What's the deal with Frank? What's our history together? And that is a big story. It is not something I feel like is appropriate to answer in a Q&A like this. It could easily be its own full episode because it is quite the story, and I do intend to share that someday. So hopefully after Vlogmas, after I recharge, I'll have it in me to dig up lots of old photos, dig up some old videos, and do a proper job telling that story. but there are some basic questions I do get asked all the time in videos. So Frank is 9 years old, getting close to 9.5 now, as best I know. He was a rescue. He is an Australian cattle dog mix, although I've been told by many people he's a Queensland healer, which is a type of cattle dog, but he is very much a cattle dog. Very strong herding instincts, very protective of me, and very intelligent. His grasp of the English language is absolutely incredible. I've never met a dog who understands English like him. So yeah, he's been a great companion over the years, and I look forward to telling the full story someday. So a couple sort of related questions are, could I ever do van life without a dog? And while I haven't done van life without a dog, absolutely I could. I have spent 5 nights without him once when he was in the hospital a few years ago, due to a really unfortunate situation, which I might also tell that story someday, but people who have followed me on Instagram for quite a while know about it. But yeah, I think I would be totally fine at this point doing van life without a dog. I did a lot of solo stuff in the wilderness without him before he came along, so I'm pretty comfortable holding my own and stuff. So, and another one, oh yeah, if it's too cold, the ground is too frozen to dig a hole for a number 2, what do? I go on the ground and I bag it like it's Frank's. It's that easy. There's absolutely no reason to ever leave crap on the surface. If you can't dig a hole, bag it. That's it. Just bag it and put it in the garbage. It's not a big deal. You know, you might think it's gross at first, but it's a lot grosser to just be like out enjoying a nice day and there's just crap everywhere. So yeah, just don't leave it on the surface. Bury it or bag it. Did I know basic vehicle maintenance before traveling or learn as I went? I knew basic vehicle maintenance before traveling. I grew up broke. If I wanted to drive, I had to buy my own cars. I never spent more than $500 on a car for my first several cars, which meant learning how to do some basic things. And then since living in a van, my skills have improved drastically, largely in part due to buying truck as a project vehicle I intended to live in. And that's a whole huge story that I plan to make in its own video, because it seems that some people have this impression that I'm just like helpless and my van is like doing me in and like screwing me over, and that I should just get a new van, which I just think is absolutely absurd because I knew what I was getting into. I expected all of this to happen. Mold. Question about how I manage mold. That will be a whole video on its own. Probably when I talk about I want to do a video on my history with truck. And my build. I have lots of photos for my build, so I would love to make that into a video someday. And mold is a big part of my build plan because I do live so much time on the West Coast here. Bears, friend or foe? Definitely friend. Yeah, they're not to be scared of. I find with bears, like, they're pretty simple creatures. They like to avoid conflict and eat food. So if you know where they're eating food, they're pretty easy to avoid because you just don't go where the bears are eating. It's simple. You know, if it's berry season, you stay out of the berry belt unless you're picking berries, in which case expect to see bears. But if you want to avoid bears and you know they're eating berries, don't go where the berries are ripe. That kind of thing. It's really, yeah, easy. So, if I wasn't living in truck, where would you live in real life and fantasy? So, we all know I would never live in a city. I would like to live in a hobbit hole type home, like mostly underground, but with the front, I would like it to have sort of like a greenhouse gazebo, so I could have like a big plant room and grow some food and do yoga in there and have coffee and read books and be cozy, but live underground. And I can't really imagine living in any other country than Canada. I would be willing to move out of BC, but I'm born and raised in BC and I really like it here, and it would take a special situation to get me out of BC, even though it's like the most expensive place in Canada and a lot of their rules are just Ugh, just way too much. I'm just so over it. Well, I'm running low on daylight and phone service, so I have time for one more question before heading back to the van, and that is, where would I be if I wasn't where I am now? And the truth is I don't think about that. I don't think about what else I want to do with my life, because this life, as I'm living it, as hard as it may seem, as much as there are challenges, mentally and physically, I'm the best off I've ever been in my life. I've been through some really hard times. I suffer with chronic illnesses. I have permanent disabilities. I deal with mental health issues. I have a long list of diagnoses that I've never really talked about on this channel. And when it comes down to it, living this way has been the best thing for me and has quite literally saved my life. So here I am, and it might look really challenging, and sometimes it really is, and Vlogmas has really taken it out of me, and I appreciate everyone's concern and telling me they'll still be here for me if I quit, but this is something I want to do for myself, and I actually have quite a lot of reasons why I'm doing Vlogmas, which I will talk about later. Hi. Thank you. Oh, yes. Frank approves of my decisions. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So hopefully you enjoyed this Q&A. If I didn't answer your question, I'm sorry. I will do another Q&A in the future. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, go on a walk and make coffee together, answering some questions, and please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I really appreciate you watching. And I have an old clip of Frank I'm going to share to send you off on your way. A fan favorite I thought I would share today to make this a little extra special. But yeah, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow for a regular vlog. Bye.